This is CBC Here and Now.
Our investigative team does wish to determine the events that led up to the death of this man and whether or not the individuals involved were known to each other.
Police say a body found late last month is the victim of a homicide.
The hunt is now on for witnesses and dash cam footage.
Say so long to the sun. Rain is on the way for Newfoundland and possibly some snow in western Labrador.
Now that we know of somebody in town that has it, it's more scary now than it's ever been for me.
COVID-19 testing ramps up in Gander.
Many parents are keeping students home from school.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Carolyn Stokes.
And I'm Peter Cowan. Police in St. John's are confirming they're conducting a homicide investigation after a man's body was found late last month in the city's West End.
The body of a 68-year-old man was found on May 30th, and the RNC is appealing for witnesses to come forward. Here Now's Enrica Wilhelm has the details.
This is the area where the man's body was found. The RNC didn't provide many details on the investigation, but is hopeful that hints from the public will soon lead to an arrest.
Our investigative team does wish to determine the events that led up to the death of this man and whether or not the individuals involved were known to each other.
On May 30th, a Sunday evening around 8:30, the body of a 68-year-old man was found in the Waterford Valley area of St. John's, near a walking trail that connects Topsail Road and Waterford Bridge Road. Constable James Cadigan said the RNC is looking for footage from private dash and security cameras and was very specific about the time frame that's of interest.
Investigators with the RNC's Criminal Investigation Division continue to seek dash camera footage and CCTV footage from Saturday, May 29th, 2021 between 4:30 and 6:30 p.m., particularly in the area of Topsail Road from Cowan Avenue to Hamlin Road. In addition, we're seeking the same video footage from Sunday, May 30th, between the time frame of 2 to 3 p.m. on Waterford Bridge Road between Babels Road and Cowan Avenue.
The RNC is also still looking for possible witnesses and wants to speak to anyone who was on or around the trail on that weekend.
That area certainly is of importance to us as to whether we can speak to anybody who traveled on that trail, any footage around the entrance points to those trails, and any suspicious activity that may have been observed in that area is very valuable to us at this stage. We all carry cell phones and have social media and the ability to capture videos and pictures. So if anybody did travel in those areas in our city, in that time frame, check your pictures, check your videos.
Police say the victim was from St. John's, but aren't releasing any other details. Enrica Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
So we're in for a little bit of a treat tomorrow. The bad news is you might not be able to see it. So this is it's an annular solar eclipse, and this is sort of what happens when, bear with me, I just learned this earlier today, and as all my science teachers will let you know, I wasn't very good in this subject. So this is where the moon crosses in front of the sun, but because of the size of the sun compared to the moon, you'll get this ring of fire, which is sort of what you're seeing around here. Now this is a photo from NASA, and I'm willing to bet that you're not going to see this tomorrow. But if you are up early, it's going to cross across, there's going to be a partial, you'll be able to see part of it here in this province, but it'll be more in northern Canada than here. So here are all the times. The bad news is that the weather is not looking very great. There's a good chance you might be able to see it in Labrador City, but for the rest of the province, there's going to be like a lot of cloud cover and a lot of rain. So just keep an eye on that. So if you get up early tomorrow and you take a look at the sky and you see something like that, send me a pic and I'll send you any CBC swag that I can find. But I highly doubt that you're going to be able to find something like that. But keep an eye out for it.
Thanks, Jeremy. Turning now to COVID-19, 3 new cases today, and the source for all 3 is under investigation. One case is in Central, a person under 20. Garrett Barry will have more about that case in just a moment, but there are 2 cases on the West Coast. They're also under investigation, and that's on top of 4 previous cases in the Western region over the last couple of weeks that health officials are still investigating the source of. Today, the Chief Medical Officer of Health says the cases they're seeing there are 2 different variants. B117, the strain first found in the UK, and B1617, the variant first found in India.
In the St. George's area, there has not been evidence of widespread community transmission, and information from community testing as well as other aspects of the investigation is being assessed to determine if further testing is needed. The region will therefore remain in alert level 4 for the time being, and we anticipate reevaluating this by the end of the week. We know that there have been social gatherings in the affected areas that have contributed to the spread of the variants. We remind individuals in the regions that gatherings at this time are not permitted.
Now, that case Peter mentioned in Central means testing in Gander is expanding tonight. It comes after a case was discovered with connections to a junior high school. Here Now's Garrett Barry is live in the community for us tonight. So, Garrett, what's the latest from health officials on this?
Carolyn, tonight there is a call for widespread community testing here in Gander. Central Health is opening up criteria to everybody between the ages of 12 and 40, with a particular emphasis on those who are feeling symptoms of COVID-19, as well as those who may have recently attended a gathering or those who interact frequently with the public.
This all comes after a case was connected to the St. Paul's School community. Health officials won't say whether a student at the junior high school has tested positive, but the school did shut down today. School board officials say that was for operational reasons, not for public safety.
We could have opened school under normal operations. We reached a point rather late into the evening, last evening, where there were just such a large number of staff that may have been asked to isolate awaiting testing, that we made a decision for operational reasons to suspend classes for today.
Teachers weren't the only ones getting tested today. This site was also open to Walmart employees after a worker in the store tested positive for COVID-19.
We haven't yet seen that there's been transmission within the workplace or a broader risk to people who were there, but we are still gathering information and trying to determine if there has been any transmission.
The recent cases have brought new concerns to this community. Some parents are deciding not to send their children to school, citing many connections between all the schools in the community, like shared buses.
I'm a bit afraid. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a bit afraid of this now. I was fine before, and I always said, well, if we get it, we get it. But now that we know of somebody in town that has it, it's more scary now than it's ever been for me.
Dutch says she is encouraging parents who are comfortable with it to send their kids to school.
But for the most part, at least in the investigations I've been involved in with Central and Western Health, we have seen very little transmission within schools, which has been really reassuring to see, which gives an indication that, you know, I don't deal with the specific precautions in a school, but they seem to be doing their job.
So the testing tomorrow will be pretty similar to the testing protocol today. It'll happen here at the arena in Gander, and it's not appointment based. You have to drop in. If you're interested in coming down and having a test done, you're asked to arrive between 10:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. Reporting live for Here Now, I'm Garrett Barry in Gander.
The NLTA is weighing in on these latest developments. The teachers' union says public health needs to provide more details on cases. Dean Ingram says at the moment, many parents are making their own decisions to keep students at home.
I think one thing is to be more clear and transparent information. Instead of giving generic statements about an individual under 20, what schools are affected? A clarity of information on the extent of the spread, to the extent that still respects privacy, but also very clear information. And I would suggest coming directly from public health will be in order that illustrates exactly what measures are taken to ensure safety. And again, I want to stress, this is not the NLTA saying it. This is parents' actions on choosing to keep their children home that are illustrating the extent to which they do not have confidence that the school system is safe.
While in order to ease restrictions, 75% of eligible people need to be vaccinated. Right now that number is 68%, but it's different for different age groups. So let's take a look. Here's how the numbers looked 3 weeks ago, but since then vaccinations have opened up for younger groups and a lot more of them have gotten the shot. Over all age groups, over the age of 55 rather, more than 75% of people are vaccinated. In younger groups, we've seen some big increases in their rates. The top group right now, 75 to 80-year-olds, where 96% of people are vaccinated. We also now know how many vaccinated people have tested positive for COVID-19. So far, 56 people have been infected after getting their shots. But there's some important context here. 22 of those were within the first 2 weeks after their dose, so their body hadn't developed the antibodies yet. 32 got COVID after a single shot. Now, only 2 people are what they call breakthrough infections, where they got COVID after 2 doses. But also keep in mind that until recently, only about 2% of the population in this province has had their double dose. The good news, only 3 of all those cases were severe disease, which is about 6%.
Even though we see cases after 1 dose of the vaccine that, the severity rate certainly seems to be lower. So that's reassuring. We are, we have been working really hard up until this point with vaccines coming in to try to keep COVID out as much as possible, but that's not going to be possible forever. So we are going to have to find a way, and I guess we all have to kind of get our heads around living with the fact that there are going to be cases of COVID in our province, but with protection for all of us, we won't see those severe outcomes in the same way that we might have before.
Well, one Canadian province is introducing a form of vaccine passport. Manitoba residents who are fully vaccinated will soon be able to visit family and friends in hospital or care facilities. They will also be able to travel throughout Canada without having to quarantine when they return.
Not only does that acknowledge how protective, how safe and effective these vaccines are, but it also provides a carrot. It also drives vaccination in people who everyone's desperate to get back to normal. So even people who have some of those concerns would be more likely to get vaccinated if you open up some privileges for people who are double vaccinated.
According to the Public Health Agency of Canada, vaccine hesitancy can take many forms. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, the World Health Organization listed vaccine hesitancy as one of the top 10 threats to global health.
In other news now, a review of Newfoundland and Labrador's access to information laws is now in the hands of the provincial government. The report by former Chief Justice David Orsborn was released Wednesday. It runs nearly 600 pages. Justice Minister John Hogan says it's too soon to know what recommendations will be enacted.
This is going to take time. Like I said, this report was delivered slightly earlier than we expected. The House is open now, and obviously we're in there debating the budget and some money bills and things like that. So any legislative proposals are not going to get in the House for this session. So we do have some time to look at it, and certainly, again, if any members of the public want to chat about it or any stakeholders, my office is going to be open throughout the summer and before we open up the House again next fall.
Now, the Act is reviewed every 5 years. The Centre for Law and Democracy has described the current provincial law as by far the strongest right to information legislation in Canada.
Ceremonies and memorials are continuing as people express their grief over the residential school children in Kamloops. Members of the St. John the Evangelist Anglican Cathedral in Corner Brook held a prayer service today in honor of what's believed to be the remains of 215 children from the residential school. Indigenous clergy read prayers aloud while some Mi'kmaq church members performed ceremonial drum songs. The service focused on prayer to end all forms of discrimination and racism. They also asked for reconciliation for the children's lives that were lost and all Indigenous peoples. The Canadian flag was raised after being lowered for 215 hours in honor of the children. Well, people of the Mi'kmaq First Nation in Conn River are finding ways to remember and honor those residential school children. Chief Mizel Joe says the community has held multiple events this week with the children of Conn River at the center.
Well, I think it was just a need, I guess, to do something visible. I asked Colleen Lambert to get a flag made up with the 215 numbers on it and with a red flag, and then she went further. She got a bunch of kids from the school, little kids, come out and put their handprints on the windows, and I got with them. They had fun trying to get my hands to go flat, but you know, it was like a shot of adrenaline to be around kids, little kids that had no concept of why we're doing this, maybe, but somewhere in the future they will look back on this time. This is what it meant, that we're acknowledged that a wrong was done. It was an incredible moment in time that I won't forget very soon. You know, there's no words to describe it, really. It just hurts. Your heart hurts, your soul hurts, your spirit hurts, and there's lots of stories out there that yet to be untold and discoveries that yet to be uncovered. That's our legacy as a country, and it's not a good one. To apologize for it is a step in the direction, but it's not enough. You know, how many more are out there that we don't know about or will never know about? And we as a country, all of us, not just Aboriginal people, but us as a country, need to know that. And we need to come to grips with that. And we need to find a way to deal with it. And it's not just dealing with people that were directly infected by it, but we're all touched by it. So we need to know that something is being done as a country.
Looking at a live weather shot there of the harbor in downtown St. John's. Looks like a nice day, but it's not going to last. The rain is going to start tonight and it's going to continue all day tomorrow, and there's going to be a lot of it. And I'll tell you all about it coming up.
This weather update is brought to you by Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism. It's time to explore the great wide open. Plan your trip at yourbackyardbeckons.ca.
Jeremy is here with a look at the weather forecast. Another beautiful day for many of us today. But before we get to the forecast, we want to share some photos with you. Fire Chief Vince McKenzie says this was a close call yesterday evening.
So a wildfire spread fast yesterday just south of Grand Falls, Windsor. High winds and an extreme fire index made for challenging conditions. Provincial forest crews had to be called in for a tanker and a pump unit, and they spent this morning cleaning up.
Wow.
So you can see, take a look at, Fire Chief McKenzie shared these just as sort of a warning so that people would be careful if they were going to light anything on fire because of the high index. So that inspired me to bring up this look, and this the government of Newfoundland and Labrador puts these indexes out. And as you can see here, as I make my way into the shot and ruin it for many people, they're too far. So as you can see now, if I can zoom in on it, so as you can see, the red is not good. So that's the extreme that they were talking about, and so that's sort of now in the Harbour Breton area, but there is good news for that area coming because there is rain coming overnight. But you can see it's still up there in Gander and where Grand Falls is, that's still high. So I guess Fire Chief McKenzie just wanted people to be careful if you were going to light anything on fire, and just to be careful because it is so high. But now there is rain coming down for this red area, so hopefully that will be downgraded soon enough. Now let's take a quick look at today's high temperatures. They were high, but they weren't as high as yesterday. Now how can I get out of the way? There we go. So like St. John's 14, we'll just take a look at Badger. Badger hit 30. They were the first place in the province. They hit 30 yesterday, 19 today. Corner Brook sitting at 17. Now if you look, Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and Labrador City, they were closing in on, I think they were just about 20 yesterday, and now they're half of that. So take a current look at temperatures, a little bit the same. So it was a nice day in St. John's, but the wind got cold as the day dragged on. Started cold, warmed up, and then got a little bit chillier now as I was just outside before the broadcast started. But I want to point out Port aux Basques sitting there at 16. Now that was one of the hot spots in the province today. They hit a high of 20 today. But let's take a quick look at the future tracker because as I mentioned in the opener, there is a fair bit of rain coming up, and if you look up there at Labrador City, yeah, there it, I can't get my hand there, never mind. You'll see that there's a few blue patches there, and there is some possible snow in Labrador City tonight, but you can see as it moves across now into tonight and into tomorrow, there's going to be a lot of rain. Just if you take a quick look down there, you're going to see a lot of it there on the south coast, the southern part of the island, and then across the Avalon Peninsula, across the province, I guess, and then into the Avalon Peninsula as well. So there will be a fair bit of rain, and we'll talk about that. Pardon me, we'll talk about that real quick. So if we take a quick look at what it's going to look like tonight, you can see there's a lot of those icons, a lot of clouds with the rain coming down, which isn't great. So a lot of the province is going to get damp tonight, and you can see the temperatures have dropped a lot in the last couple of days, so it will be a little bit chillier. So let's all right, so now this is what I wanted to talk about really quickly. So Labrador City right here is it's going to go down to -1 tonight. And there's a chance that there could be some flurries, which could turn into some snowfall with actual accumulation of about 2 centimeters. Now, not much to worry about if you're living in Lab West in Wabash or Labrador City. You're used to 2 centimeters. But there's also going to be 2 millimeters of rain. Happy Valley, Goose Bay could see some flurries. Same with Nain, Hopedale, Cartwright as well. Straits will get a bit of rain. So if we take a quick look, you'll see now there's some of the systems will move through there on Thursday. Tomorrow morning, about 11 o'clock, you can see Labrador is going to see a fair bit of rain, but not as much there as you would down in the island, which for some reason is not showing. Here we go. This is what I was trying to get to. So we're looking at 15 to 25 millimeters for St. John's and Bay Roberts. You're looking at 10 to 20 there in Ferryland and Placentia, about 10 to 20 millimeters in Marystown. And you can't really see it because I didn't do the icon very well, but just up here, Clarenville and Bonavista could see 10 to 15 millimeters as well. Terra Nova could see 5 to 10, and as I was talking about with that fire index, Harbour Brenton, that's 10 to 20 millimeters of rain. And as you move across, there's a chance of frost. Oh, yeah, that was supposed to be for tonight. There is a chance of frost tonight. And then as we move up, and then we're going across there, not much. And as I said, there's a small chance of some flurries there in Labrador, a little bit of accumulation, but that's it. So with that, we'll keep an eye on all those rain systems, and I'll tell you about the long-range forecast coming up in the next bit.
Well, for many people, a haircut is just a haircut. But what if you can't find a stylist who knows the first thing about your hair?
Yeah, that's where Pearl Ashibogu found herself when she moved to St. John's in 2015. Now, she noticed that the city's mostly white hairstylists didn't know how to work with her Afro-textured hair, and the few black stylists she could find were in high demand.
So how'd she solve the problem? Well, she became one herself. Now she's building a business and a brand focused on making black hair beautiful.
Right now in Newfoundland, St. John's to be specific, the black community is growing, and with the growth requires a lot of stylists that should know how to, take care of our own hair. Hi, my name is Pearl Ashibogu, and I am the owner of Capella. I sell braiding hair, African clothing, phone cases that have a little bit of black culture in them. I'm originally from Nigeria, Delta State to be precise, and I moved here to Newfoundland in 2015. I came as a student. I'm still a student. So I felt at home here. The only challenge I had was my hair. Hi, girl. The fist bump. What's up? Like, I couldn't even go into a salon and tell them that I want to get my hair done because most of them have never really worked with Afro-textured hair. I started looking for any black person that does hair, and I couldn't really find people maybe 1 or 2 people, and they're always booked like 2 weeks, 3 weeks on, sometimes a month. And I'm not gonna leave my hair for that long. So I started watching a lot of YouTube videos on how to braid hair, and I picked up braiding my own hair with extensions, cornrows. That's pretty much how I got into the game. Capella deals with braiding hair. We deal with synthetic wigs. We deal with hair accessories, beads that, complement our hair. I can't get this in Walmart. So that's where I come in. In Nigeria, I could go anywhere and I get my hair done, and that's my home. So when people come to my home, actually, and get their hair braided, it's like, thank you so much, and I get pictures afterwards. Some of them even go as far as doing photo shoots with the hair. I absolutely love my hair today. Thank you, Pearl. It's a life-saving moment, just because living in the province, not having access, having someone to do your hair regularly is a really big pain. It makes things uncomfortable and kind of makes it hard in terms of feeling like yourself. So it's fantastic to know that there's someone I can go to in the province who knows how to take care of my hair and keep it healthy. I feel amazed. I feel like I wish this was what someone was giving me when I first got here. Knowing that I'm able to come out and do something gives me joy because my hands are gifted. I love braiding. I love making hair.
With drone footage, underwater footage, with the music and stuff, it's really, really impressive.
A little later on Here and Now, a film festival for fly fishing, and
there was always that push in wanting to work for myself, and that's still something that I cherish now, to make my own decisions, call my own shots.
From the classroom to the computer, this outdoorsman gave up his day job to become a full-time YouTuber.
The suspect in the deaths of 4 family members in London, Ontario is due in court tomorrow. Nathaniel Veltman has been charged with 4 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. The 20-year-old is accused of deliberately driving his truck into the Afzal family as they were out for a walk on Sunday evening. So far, police say it appears Veltman acted alone.
At this point in time, there's no information to suggest he had any ties to any organized groups or affiliations or anything that would suggest anything like this could happen.
Police are looking into the possibility of laying charges under the Terrorism Act. They say the attack was hate-motivated and are digging deeper into Veltman's background and associations. As the investigation continues, the memorial at the scene continues to grow. Shows of support for the victims, family and friends, and calls for an end to hate and Islamophobia. Well, in the days and weeks following the news out of Kamloops, CBC News has obtained stories from residential school survivors and records which help explain what may have happened to some of the children who died at the BC school.
Jorge Barrera brings you this special report, but first a warning, some may find the details of these stories disturbing.
I remember when they came to get us from here. The first year we went in a livestock truck.
And the next year?
They came out with an army truck. And they drove us back to the school in these trucks, and they unloaded us like we were just little animals.
She is one of thousands forced through the doors for nearly 80 years of Kamloops Residential School.
The first things they did was they took us down to our cleansing room, where they cut off our hair. Then they deloused us. Then they scrubbed us down with disinfectant like we were diseased animals. Sorry.
Students always suspected children were buried here, and now they are reliving the horror.
For 3 days, I went into a depression so deep. And a grief that I never knew I had.
It's going to be Christmas, and we want to get all ready for Christmas, don't we?
The Catholic Order Sisters of St. Anne's taught at the school.
We have knowledge of maybe about 20 children that died in the school over that 80-year period.
Sister Marie Zeroni belongs to the order.
So there is a hint in the records of another cemetery connected to the school, but we don't know where.
I actually don't know if that reference comes from that school or from another school.
You better behave. Don't get out of line because there's the graveyard. And there's also the river. Those were warnings that were given to us as little tiny children, 5, 6 years old.
Death was real here. We do know how some of these children died. Records from the 1930s were shared with us. Leslie Lewis, 9-year-old boy, died from an epileptic seizure. The Indian agent filed a report noting the overcrowded conditions in the institution. During an epidemic, it is impossible to properly isolate the patient and contacts. The need for separate quarters to house sick children is evident.
I wanted to go home, and I was weeping. I remember there's a train whistle. The trains would go by Kamloops, and I'd hear the whistle. Woo. And it became one of my triggers later on after I left a residential school. You know, I'll tell you the truth. That years of residential school was like a blur to me. Suicide, I remember this young man or young boy hung himself in the bathroom. Still today, they remember that. They still get nightmares about it. And about the runaways and people jumping trains, getting killed, jumping a train, freezing outside, running away in the wintertime.
When he got the strap, the first time, I sounded like a coyote, howling and crying. The second time, not much so. Then the third time, he wanted me to cry. And I said, I'm not going to cry. And I went and found a nice spot where there was nobody around, and then I had a cry.
Some never made it home. The girl's name was Mary Francois, age not noted, died in hospital from a blood clot in her brain. Her father, chief of the Adams Lake Band, who only saw her after death, wrote a letter requesting, when a child of the school is taken sick and requires hospital attention, that the parent be notified at once. The community gathered testimonials in this book.
You're growing up, you're not allowed to do something. I wasn't allowed to read this book.
Mike McKenzie reads a passage from survivor James Child.
I walked along the riverbank and I found that student floating in the water by the shore. His body was stiff. For finding that deceased person, I was strapped 150 times on each hand. I think there was a few times that happened.
Mackenzie's father's story is also in here.
I was whipped so many times that eventually you get so tough that you block those things out and you can't feel things. That's how it was here.
This oral history fills a gap between the still incomplete record of the residential school era. Funeral records destroyed, Indian agent reports destroyed, student lists destroyed.
Those records were not highly valued in terms of being preserved.
The same lack of care accompanied the death of children.
Children died, children were buried, parents were not necessarily told that they had died. Children were buried in unmarked graves, adjacent to the schools oftentimes.
John Malloy, an author and historian who worked for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. But there's one institution with key information still in the shadows.
There were records kept by nuns and records kept by priests. And sort of diaries. And the claim was made that these were personal documents, right?
Zeroni says a fire at the school destroyed the first 30 years of records. She said they have opened their archives to aid in the search. But as for letting outsiders sift through the more personal files?
I would need to know what it is they're looking for. And no, we wouldn't just turn them all over.
But the one history that can never be hidden is the one carried by those who came home.
I call upon all our people across our Turtle Island, all of our First Nations. It doesn't matter whether you're a Mohawk or a Cree or a Dene or a Shuswap or a Kitkiskan. We're all one people. We're one nation. And it is our cultural and traditional strength, I believe, that has allowed us to carry on and to live.
After realizing the classroom wasn't for him, a teacher from Middle Arm moved his lessons online, where he's become a full-time content creator.
Yes, Kyle Noseworthy is still giving instructions, only now he's sharing his favorite hobbies with viewers around the world. Here Now's Chelsea Jacobs connected with him to learn more.
Good day, my friends. Pot of chili cooking on the stove.
My name's Kyle Noseworthy, and I'm a content creator and entrepreneur in Middle Arm, Newfoundland and Labrador. I was in university completing my Bachelor of Science in Corner Brook when I decided I was always very project-based, always had a lot of different hobbies and things. And I decided I would like to try this YouTube thing, never thinking in terms of a business or anything like that, but it just seemed like a fun way to connect with some people. So I filmed one of my projects, I uploaded it to YouTube, and a few people actually watched it, and that was just a really exciting start for me.
We're gonna have one sweep, so there's not gonna be a geometry change.
And I'll set it back to the drawing. In the beginning, one of my biggest hobbies that I was videoing was whetstone sharpening. I had been whetstone sharpening for a little while. I'd gotten big into straight razors and knife collecting and things. So I was doing a lot of sharpening. I moved on into not just sharpening the tools, but restoring the tools from scratch, and actually started building a client base of restoring these tools for other people. Moved into different projects, woodworking, because I was dealing with the woodworking tools, and a lot of outdoor style content, and that's progressed now into I actually build my own knives and some of my own tools from scratch.
I guess the benefit of that would be that, you're able to, you got 48 hours to actually download the videos, and then you have 7 days from that point then to watch the films as many times as you like. So if there happens to be one in there that you really like, you can watch it as many times as you want, or perhaps get your friends over to watch it, at a later date during the week, The Rotary Club is St. John's East Foundation, and this is one of our major fundraisers for the year. It's always been good for us, and it helps us support local food security in the community, do other things like, replace the roof on various places around the city that serve that community as well. And this year with our bicycle program, purchase helmets for children and people who are recipients of our bicycle project. It's a very diverse audience for sure. It does appeal to, a lot of hardcore fly fishing people, but I think that it's got something in there for everyone. There's a film about 11-year-old boy Charlie whose dad allows him to come along for the very first time and actually be the on-person fly fisher. There's a 12-year-old girl who wins the fly fishing world championship in fly fishing casting. There's a lot of different things that, a lot of action that happens down in the South Seas. So there's something in it for everyone, but so I'd encourage everybody to take a look. It's very, very entertaining.
Mercer, this is the Mercer Report. Well, thank you very much. This week on the show, I visit the top 3 schools in this year's Spread the Net Student Challenge. Algonquin College in Ottawa, John F. Ross Collegiate in Guelph, Ontario, and the #1 elementary school was Q Beach right here in Toronto. So, Toronto, you finally have a winning team. All that and so much more, but first, please, take a look at this. Since the launch of the Mercer Report's Spread the Net Student Challenge, students in this country have raised $1.4 million for the purchase of anti-malaria bed nets in Africa. Armed with the slogan, 10 bucks buys a net and saves a life, 102 schools took part this year. And once again, the generosity of Algonquin College in Ottawa was on full display. They have raised more money than any other post-secondary institution for 3 years in a row. They say good things come in threes. Algonquin is all good. Hello, Algonquin, how are you? Hi, wow, I cannot tell you how happy I am to be back at Algonquin. 3 years, it's like I should probably graduate soon. And it's an overwhelming problem, but we're beating malaria. The number of deaths due to malaria in Africa has dropped 58% since the year 2000. In over 3 years, you have raised over $62,000 for Spread the Net. Standing here with the organizers of Algonquin Spread the Net. What's your name?
Katrina Lehman.
Katrina.
And Joe Dingaman.
Joe, Katrina, and this is the Spread the Net team. Congratulations, guys. This is a three-peat. This is tremendous. This is unprecedented. Never before in Canadian television history. How are you feeling?
Awesome.
So what are some of the things you did to raise the money?
We did bake sales, midnight
Who
breakfast.
baked?
Everybody. We all
Did you bake? What did you bake?
I baked stuff.
What is it you're doing?
We're
Because you can
doing-
do it all day, by the way. I was going to a rally, but I don't think so now.
It's called effleurage.
Yeah?
Yes.
Fun. Florage is fun. Why would you want to be a firefighter?
It's the best job in the world.
Why? Why is it the best job?
Because you get to help people all the time, and you get to make a difference in the world and just save lives. And
It's been an interest for me for a kid, and
Since you were a kid, you were
since
like,
I was a kid, absolutely.
oh, I want to be on the
Absolutely.
truck.
Heroes and the trucks and everything. Just color red was my favorite.
I love that too. Everyone loves a fire truck, and I think I'm going to get a chance to drive a fire truck today. Yes! Yes, I am. I checked. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Best day ever. I'll just follow them. Really? Okay. Ooh. Welcome to Toronto's East End, home to Kew Beach Public School, where 500 young students using innovations such as candygrams and pajama days went out and raised $8,000 for Spread the Net, saving 800 lives, making them the winners of the elementary school portion of the Spread the Net Student Challenge.
Mr. Rick Mercer.
Hello! Hello, Kew Beach! Your school, this school, which is not a very big school, you raised more money than any elementary school in the entire country. So give yourselves a big hand. And I'm standing in the library of Kew Beach Public School with the Student Council. Hello, Council, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm excellent. Now, you guys have raised a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the things you did?
The biggest thing was the candygram.
I'm in class 302, and these people know a thing or two about candygrams, correct?
Yeah!
Okay, what's a candygram? To Rick Mercer from Kew Beach. Oh, this is what a candygram looks like. How much money did you raise with the candygrams?
Like $1,300.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding. Nope.
Did you eat a lot of candies?
Oh yeah, I bought 15.
Okay, let's make a candygram.
2 suckers.
Right.
1 chocolate bar. There's usually a little thing that says to, who it's to, and who it's from.
And then you put a little personal message on it?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if your hydro bill came that way?
That would be great.
That would be awesome. Can you normally not eat in the classroom? Is that a rule? Today it's a special day because you won. It's one of the things that happens when you win Spread the Net. You get to eat candy in class. Fill your boots.
I got one.
Attention, Kew Beach. This is Rick Mercer. Congratulations for winning the Spread the Net Student Challenge. It is my pleasure to announce an immediate early recess for grades 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 3. Enjoy the mayhem and spread the net. Playground supervisor. Conga line! Join the back of the line. Play safe. Join the back of the line. I'm kind of afraid now. The conga line seems to have dissolved.
Spread the net. Spread the net. Spread the net. Spread the net. Spread the net.
The Indian Meteorological Department.
What the heck is that, Dad?
What's that, dear?
Something's flying outside the window.
Oh, come on. Since when?
Since I turned the channel to the nature of things.
You know how I feel about that show.
There it is again.
Oh, look. It's one of the new democracy drones. You know, our government has spent millions of dollars keeping us safe with drones.
It's shining a really bright light at us. Really bright.
They're just making sure that we're all home, safe and sound.
And that you obeyed the curfew for your age range.
How long is it going to hang around?
Probably until you stop watching the nature of things.
True.
I think it might have followed me home from the solar energy rally.
Did you get home safe?
Mm-hmm. You know what makes me happy? Yoga in the morning and unmanned things in the sky.
The Lurker 750, official drone of the Government of Canada.